So let's jump right in. What if I told you we've been measuring value all wrong? We're about to dive into a pretty radical idea from a white paper that says we can measure absolutely everything, from an entire country down to a loaf of bread, with one single universal formula. The whole concept starts with this one question. I mean, forget dollars, forget GDP, forget market caps for a second. What if you could boil down the true value of literally anything into a single comparable score? It's a huge proposal, and honestly, the logic behind it is just fascinating. Okay, so first things first. Before we can get to the solution, we have to understand the problem this whole system is trying to solve. And the argument is pretty stark. Our current way of measuring value is fundamentally broken. This slide just lays out the core issue perfectly. Just think about GDP. When a hurricane absolutely destroys a city, the massive rebuilding effort makes GDP shoot up. Our main economic metric literally counts a catastrophe as a positive. It's wild, right? The equity index asks a totally different question. Did life actually get better for people? The goal here is to measure well-being, not just, well, busy work. And listen, it's not just GDP. The paper points out that inflation numbers can be tweaked for political reasons, market cap is basically just a measure of crowd psychology on any given day, and this is the big one. All of these things are priced in currencies like the dollar, which are themselves unstable. And this right here, this just perfectly captures the central problem. We're trying to measure value using units that have no stable value themselves. It's like trying to measure how long a ruler is using that same ruler. It's a completely circular problem, and it means we have no real solid anchor for what anything is truly worth. Okay, so if our man-made systems are that flawed, where do you even start looking for a solution? Well, the paper suggests we should stop looking at our own systems and instead turn to nature for the answer. So, this new system breaks value down into two main components. The first one is called prosperity. You can think of this as all the good stuff a system creates. We're not just talking about money, we're talking about happiness, health, freedom, the things that actually make life better. It's all the forward momentum. And on the flip side, you've got this second component, friction. This is the exact opposite. It's all the negative stuff that holds a system back. Things like poverty, corruption, pollution. It's the systemic drag that just eats away at all that potential prosperity. So the big question is, how do you mathematically balance all the good stuff against all the bad stuff? This is where the white paper proposes something that's, well, it's really elegant. It turns to a special number that nature itself uses for balance all the time, phi. You might know it as the golden ratio. Now, this isn't just some random number they picked. It is a fundamental constant that appears all over the natural world. It's basically nature's own secret recipe for balancing growth in a way that's both stable and harmonious. And I mean, this ratio is everywhere, seriously. From the cosmic scale of galaxies spiraling through space, to the way seeds are arranged in a sunflower, to the very proportions of our own bodies, and even all the way down to the quantum level. It's like nature's favorite number for finding that perfect point of balance. And that brings us to this, the universal equity formula. Now, look closely at how this works. It takes prosperity, the good stuff, and divides it by the sum of prosperity plus friction. But here's the genius part. Friction isn't treated equally. It's first divided by phi, by that 1.618 number. What that does is it mathematically values the positive outcomes more than it penalizes the negative ones, which perfectly mirrors nature's own bias toward growth and life. It's just a beautiful equation, and it's the core engine of this entire system. Okay, so we have this incredibly powerful formula. But how do we actually get the numbers for prosperity and friction? I mean, where does the data come from? That's where the next piece of the puzzle comes in. Creating a universal index for, well, pretty much everything. The P and F scores, they come from a basket of real-world indicators. So for a country, let's say the main indicator for prosperity is happiness. And for friction, it's the poverty rate. These primary things get more weight. And notice the weighting here, about 62% and 38%. That is not a coincidence. That is the golden ratio, baked right into the DNA of the index itself. So, because that core formula is universal, the baskets become this kind of plug-and-play system. You can just swap out the indicators to measure completely different things, all while using the exact same underlying math. You can measure a whole country, a blockchain, a commodity like oil, a housing market, a product you buy at the store. You can even measure the economic well-being of a single individual. The inputs change, but the engine, the math, it all stays exactly the same. And this is the incredible result. For what might be the first time ever,
you can logically compare apples and oranges. A score for a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and a score for the entire nation of Norway can exist on the exact same 0 to 1 scale. And it lets us say, based on the data, that Norway is currently a much more efficient system for generating human well-being than Bitcoin is.
But this system isn't just about measurement. Not at all. The final and by far the most ambitious part of this whole proposal is to turn this index into a brand new kind of global currency. This is the equity token, or ET. Its value is pegged to the Global Equity Index, which is just the average of all the country's scores weighted by population. So its value isn't based on debt or hype or speculation, it's anchored directly to the overall well-being of all of humanity. And this is the core incentive. This is what makes it all work. The whole system is designed so that your equity tokens have more purchasing power in countries with higher equity scores. Let me say that again. Living in a fair, healthy, and prosperous society literally makes your money worth more. This kicks off what the white paper calls a race to the top, and it works like a feedback loop. First, just making these scores public creates transparency and pressure for countries to reform. That sparks competition to improve their score. As those scores rise, their citizens get rewarded with more purchasing power. This creates this powerful cycle where the pursuit of pure economic advantage directly leads to making the world a better place. This quote just nails the genius of it. You don't need to hope that leaders suddenly become saints. The system is designed to make doing good for society the most profitable thing you can possibly do. It literally aligns self-interest with the common good. And really, it all comes back to this one simple, powerful idea. Let's move away from measuring just activity and instead focus our entire economic system on what actually matters, the quality of human life. So, it leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about. Could a formula, one that's literally derived from the patterns of nature itself, be the key to finally building an economy that reflects our deepest human values? It's a fascinating thought for sure.